Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where it is dark, but as promised, we are here in our 300-kilometer orbit. Now, you might ask, well, what actually went wrong with this docking port last time? I have a theory that I can't confirm. I was not able to reproduce the issue, but my theory is that the decoupler that this is sitting on is actually overheated as we were lifting it up. I believe that this TD25 decoupler overheated and burned off, meaning that this Clampatron docking port, I realize is very hard to see right now, but this Clampatron docking port, I believe, did not have anything attached to it because this TD25 burned off. The engine shroud remained, so that's interesting. Also, we're out of electric charge, so that's interesting too, but we are in orbit and our solar panels are extended, so once we come out of this dark period, it should be absolutely fine. So we want to set I believe the Fly Safe 8 is actually what we want to dock to. So we want to set this as our target. And we can see ascending node 0.3 degrees, that's probably good enough. So if we were to create a maneuver node here, we'll find out how exactly rendezvousing in this game feels. It should be the same basic technique as before, but let's see here. Okay, so we definitely want to burn sometime. Ooh, this is decent. Can I not have this pinned open, please? Thank you. Let's see here. 4 kilometers apart, we can work with that. Okay, so let's align ourselves to the node. Of course, we don't have any electric charge right now. This is going to be in about 40 minutes, so we're going to warp around. I'm going to manually warp for a moment until we come into the day side, because we need to get some electric charge. No doubt about that. Okay, so now that we've got electric charge, I want to align to the node. So we're just going to very slowly turn ourselves over here. Of course, we're mounted backwards, and that is very deliberate. But yeah, we've got electric charge now. That's all looking good. We've got about 30 minutes until the burn here, but we just need to get lined up to the node. Excellent. So once we get positioned here, we are going to warp forward. This is going to be a 98 DV burn. And is this the target marker? Well, we'll want to move into target mode anyway. That'll be fine. Let's warp on over. Okay, so we're about 43 seconds to the burn. That'll be fine. Continuing to warp here. 30 seconds. 20. 10. And 3, 2, 1. Mark. Excellent. So you can see here we've got some extra DV in this engine as well. That is absolutely great. Okay, that should be pretty much right where we want to be. Now I'm going to hop into target mode here. This indicator is pro-target. This is anti-target. Gotcha. And this is prograde and retrograde, respectively. Okay. So that is absolutely fine. We're going to want to warp to about here in about 25 minutes or so. So let's warp to here. Okay. So we can see that our target marker and our prograde marker are a bit separated. Where is our target at this moment? There it is. 13.8 kilometers out. Okay. Let's move over to retrograde. We're moving at 88.7 meters per second relative to the target, so that definitely needs to be dealt with. So let's get this thing turned around to retrograde. And once there, we're just going to need to bring ourselves fairly close. We'll need to do a corrective burn. And that should be absolutely fine, no problem whatsoever. We're going to be pushing the retrograde node onto the target node, is going to be our goal here. So we're just making our way around, or rather onto the anti-target node. We're going to be making our way around to that retrograde node. I'm going to do this manually, though. I want to move us down over this way a smidge. Okay, keep going. Keep going. Okay, cool. We want to be somewhere around up here. Working on it. We've got a lot of momentum built up right now. And I think, can we freeze physics? Yes, we can. That's going to be the easiest way to do this. So we're going to freeze physics and position ourselves right up over here. Looks good. We're about 8 kilometers out right now. And I want to commence a bit of a burn up here. And we're just pushing that node right on over. Little bit more power. Just making minor adjustments here. Okay, that's pretty close, and we're not exactly where we want to be yet. We're still 43.1 meters per second apart as well. We can see that's going up. We're going to have some drift. That is reasonably fine. It'll be interesting to see how docking works in this game, that's for sure. I imagine it'll be somewhat different. Okay, so I just want to position ourselves about here or so. That's very close. Okay, we're going to put ourselves right on that retrograde node. Let's see what our encounter looks like. 182 meters from target. Okay, I like it. That is close. No doubt about that. So let's get positioned right on that retrograde marker. We're still moving in at about 30 meters per second here. So that is absolutely fine. We're going to be ditching this stage once we're docked up. We're going to need to move the fuel out of it first, though. And I'm wondering if this is going to remain attached. It might. I don't think so, though. So we're still 5 kilometers out right now. Let's warp in a little bit closer here to about here or so, about 1 minute in. We can see there's a little bit of drift happening here. That's expected since we're not going to be right on the target. But 182 meters is close enough for the time being. I don't want to make any corrective burns. So let's just continue to warp in a little bit here. 1.7, 1.6, 1.5. 1 kilometer away. Okay. That's looking good for now. We can make a little bit of a corrective burn, I suppose, up over this direction or so. And just start bringing ourselves in a little bit more. This really likes to drift around. Oh, that's why. Right. That'll do it. So we're just going to bring this on over. We're only 3.1 meters per second apart now. That got us most of the way there. This is not going the way it should be, but that's fine. There's a lot of mass here, right? And that is understood. So at this point, I want to hop over to this guy, and I want to control from this Clampetron docking port. I would like to grab this guy out over here, but it doesn't appear that we can. So for now, I just want to set the Lander 9 as... What? No, I don't want to destroy it. I want to set the Lander 9 as our target. Okay, and I want to point at target. There we go. So we'll get that turning over. That looks good. And we're, of course, pointed away from target here, which is fine. We're still moving in at about 3 meters per second. We are accelerating a little bit. Just doing a very, very small correction there. 2.8 meters per second apart. Boy, that's a lot of drift happening. Is this happening because of our SAS, I wonder? Interesting. Very interesting. We can bring this down to a halt, but for the time being, I'm wondering what our actual distance is. 31 meters. So this is fine. I don't actually care. We're going to bring it in a fair amount closer here. We're 100 meters out. Okay, this looks good. Let's bring this to a relative halt. This moves a lot, I'm noticing. So that's 0.5 meters per second relative. Sounds good. I want to set this docking port as our target directly. And we're wanting to move over to the retrograde node. Thank you very much. I do think that our reaction wheel is actually affecting our trajectory a little bit. That is not something that happened in KSP1. So that is interesting and definitely something to keep in mind in the future. No doubt about that. Okay, let's bring this down. Ooh, okay. Noted. Absolutely noted. That didn't work the way that it would in KSP1. That's okay. I want to point at target right now. So we're going to do that. We're going to do some RCS steering as we head in, but we definitely need to bring this around. I want to make sure that you are specifically targeting the docking port at the end of this. That is the engine. This is the wrong side. Okay. Docking port is the target. Cool. So we have 1.1 meters per second between us right now, which is, you know, not necessarily ideal. That number is wildly changing. It's down to 0.5. Okay, I think this is taking into account our radial velocity, which is intriguing for sure. I think that's where all of this is coming from. Fascinating. But of course, we just need to get lined up here, and that's fine. Do we care about these tanks all being aligned? Not really, is the answer. But I suppose as we're heading in here, we might be able to do something about it. Okay, so we're going to arrive here. We are just about in position, and I want to burn us towards this very, very gently. I'm going to thrust limit this down to 1%. Okay. Point 1. We're seeing it flip around. 0.0, allegedly. Okay, so that is 0.1 towards target. And now we see the node coming in. I want it to be about 0.3, I think. So about there. Now, RCS, does this work the same? Yes, it does. Beautiful. Okay, so there's some corrective RCS. Looks good. Now then, we can get this guy oriented somewhere out here. Just to get these in line. They don't, strictly speaking, need to be in line, but it'll be fine. A little bit closer to inline anyway. Okay, we can see that we do have a little bit of drift, so I'm doing a little bit of RCS tweaking to our current velocity. Let's warp in a little bit here. We can see it's drifting off. That is expected. I want to bring this a little bit closer in. Okay, let's do a small correction. Okay, it's trying to use RCS to position us on the node there, which is mildly awkward. That's not exactly what I want it to do. It's trying to use it to counteract the rotational force here, but there we go. That should be reasonably fine. RCS is now off, and we are headed in. This is a lot more jittery than in KSP1. No doubt about that one. So in terms of the lineup here, I feel like we could definitely rotate this a little bit more like this. Thereabouts. It came right back. Okay, put it there. And we're docked. Beautiful. That was a very clean docking there. That gives us a flight report, apparently. With a mission time of 5 seconds. Cool. So that is fine. We want to ditch this at this point. So now what we need to do is we need to go into our resource manager. And we need to choose our Methalox tanks are empty tanks. These two. Then we need to choose our not empty tanks, which are, in theory, these two. Where are they? That's our monoprop there. Where are these tanks? They're not showing up in our resource manager? That's very strange. Why are they not showing up in our resource manager? Uh-huh. The idea here was to move the fuel from here to here, and then ditch this component. We could do it the other way around. I would prefer not to. Wait, is this them? Now they're showing up, or I was blind before. I'm not sure which. Cool. There we go. We'll just transfer that fuel. Oh, we didn't transfer the oxidizer. Okay. Something like that. All the oxidizer didn't go, so we'll just do this. Okay, that's all of it going. So that's perfect. We've now gotten that done. So there's no fuel remaining here, and that means that we need to decouple this TD25 decoupler. Boom. So that's out of here. Looks good. And next, of course, I want to ensure that all of these tanks are full. So we did loot some fuel from it previously, so I want to go into our Methalox tanks, and I want this tank, and then these two tanks. We're going to say out for all of these, and in for this tank, and we'll start. Okay, that's intriguing. Why do we have 7 extra tons of oxidizer in each tank? I feel like we shouldn't. I feel like this is a problem with the fuel transfer system. But I guess that means that we have no fuel in this tank. That's very strange, though. We definitely pulled all of the fuel out of, all of the liquid fuel and all of the oxidizer out of these tanks. I know that for a fact. I double-checked that. So the question is then, where did we get this extra oxidizer? And I think this is a bug, is my current theory. So we should have the same amount of fuel and oxidizer in these. What this means, of course, is that this stage, well, specifically this stage here, doesn't have any fuel, which is weird, right? It should have fuel. But I guess we could simply decouple this. I was intending to use the, like, I don't know how much it would be, like 300 meters per second here, but it probably doesn't matter. So let's go ahead and decouple that too, I guess, if that doesn't have the fuel. So that's fine. It's just a little bit awkward, right? So at this point, we have this engine, and this engine should be in its own stage here. Staging is definitely wacky right now. No doubt about that. So I want this guy to move up to here. Sure. And then what staging is it here? Like, what is the staging for these? Do these simply not exist in staging? Okay. We're definitely running into some issues here, if that's the case. That's these. Okay, they're up here. Never mind. So that's good. We can definitely split them into their own stage. So they are going to end up going here. And presumably, we're going to be taking the fuel from the outside in. That's the overall idea anyway. So what we need to do right now, of course, is we need to set our target for the moon. So we'll set target here. And we're just looking to slingshot it. So sometime around here or so. That's only 6 minutes in the future. Okay. Sometime around here or so, we want to slingshot this right on around the moon. and changing that timing a little bit to be something like this, catapulting us directly out of the Kerbal system. That looks good. What is that moon periapsis? 14 kilometers? Okay, we're going to turn SAS on, and the question is, what is our control directionality looking like? I suspect we're facing the wrong way. This control orientation is currently reversed, and now it should be forward. And we'll control from here. Okay, so let's line up for that burn. That's going to be an 18-minute burn. No, it's going to be an 8-minute burn. How long of burn time do we actually have in this? I don't know. That's a pretty hefty burn, no doubt about it. But we knew that this would be very, very, very low thrust to weight, right? That was always going to be the case with this setup. And that's fine. Okay, so let's warp on around here. This does look like prograde burning towards moon. This looks like we are in the correct directionality. So that is good. This burn is going to be starting in about 30 seconds, but it's going to be a very, very long burn indeed. I'm not convinced that we're going to have good accuracy on this burn. This engine is not activated. Okay, let's activate the engine. And it is definitely pushing us, but very slowly. This isn't shocking. We can, I believe, physics warp this burn to some extent. 3x is okay. Honestly, we can even go 10x with the burn on. Remarkable. I like it. So that's really solid. I want to take a look at the fuel tanks here as we're doing this. So we can see that these outside tanks are draining evenly. The inside tank is not draining at all. That is doing exactly what we wanted it to do. Cool. Now, how are we doing on the actual burn here? I don't know. It's going to be spicy because it's such a long burn. We'll see how it goes. I have a feeling we're going to lose efficiency because it's just so low thrust to weight. Let's bring it up to 20x. And we're going to have to keep a close eye on the actual result of this burn, right? No doubt about that. Very, very, very long burn. Okay, bringing it down a bit for now. I want to check in on our fuel. We're at about half on these side tanks. Okay, so the side tanks are going to be ditched next once they run out of fuel, and then we're going to be running just off of this tank, which is fine. That is absolutely okay. The main question is, how much delta V do we have left over there, right? So let's take a quick look at where we are on this orbit. Okay, we definitely need to continue to burn here. It's losing efficiency for sure. Okay, about 45 seconds left on this burn in theory. 30 seconds left. 20. Okay, pulling us out of the burn here. That is now an impact trajectory. We're keeping an eye on it. It should come back up and give us an escape trajectory shortly. I mean, that is an escape trajectory. With a periapsis of 60 kilometers? Okay, that'll do. So that is a slingshot that is, in theory, assuming that this doesn't break in any meaningful way, in theory, this is going to slingshot us out of the Kerbal system. So we'll warp over to this point. Lack of stellar exposure, yes, that is fine. We've got Bill and Valentina here, but they're in different compartments. They don't like each other very much, clearly. And we are going to hop over to our resource manager here. I'm just checking in on the fuel amounts in these. That's fine. Okay, so we're going to warp to about here. That'll bring us into that moon periapsis. Cool. And from here, we want to warp on down to that moon periapsis. So we are falling and gaining a lot of speed with this gravity assist from the moon. And we just slingshot right on around. Lack of stellar exposure, yes, that is a thing. So we're at our moon periapsis right now. I suppose we could see if there's any experiments here. Yeah, we actually already got some. Okay, so that sounds good. We've been automatically collecting the experiments. So we're going to warp up over here. We're going to exit the sphere of influence of the moon. Goodbye, moon. Thank you for the gravity assist. Excellent. And now we are back in the Kerbal sphere of influence. Vehicle intersect of 7,000 kilometers from the moon? Yeah, I don't care about that. That is completely and totally fine. So we're going to warp on up over here if we can. There we go. Excellent. And this will be our first escape from the Kerbal system. So let's just bring our warp right on up over here. Excellent. So we are exiting the system. 1 year, 163 days. Okay, that's been a while to exit the Kerbal system, but sure, I guess that's fine. Let's time warp to point here, if we can. This is kind of doing the opposite of what I want it to do. That's exciting. Let's try it again. There we go. So we have now... Stop. What are you doing? Okay. So this is our position now. It decided to warp it, like, all the way to next orbit. But that's fine. We managed to stop it, and we're out of communication range with the KSC now. That is reasonably expected. We don't have a fancy antenna on this. So that's fine. We are now in orbit of Kerbal, or rather, Kerbal, and we are going to head back to the mission control because we have a mission to finish. And that is escaping Kerbal. Excellent. So that is done. And we are going to continue to head off to Duna in the next episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.